Hey friends, my name is Stephen Nicaro. I serve as the Grace Chapel campus pastor in Watertown. Now, loneliness has been called a silent killer because it eats away at our mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual well being. It's invisible and insidious and can be hidden like this virus. Now, our well being is affected by so many unknowns, and the consequence to stay inside can pull us away from any connection. Some of those feelings we're experiencing this season remind me of my childhood. See, at 10 years old, I had lost my dad. I felt completely alone. This personal pain and personal loss made me feel this deep loneliness and sadness. Now, I lived in an orphanage and then went off to a boys' boarding school for longer periods of time. I was away from friends, from family, and people that I knew. I remember craving a deep connection, yearning for friendships. Now, I tried to cover my sadness with sports, soccer, basketball. I worked hard. I got involved in a lot of activities, but the loneliness was wearing me down. Now, I know that we're trying our best to reduce the risk to one another by staying at home. This is a strange situation. We're feeling anxious, scared, uncertain, and it can lead to loneliness and disconnection. So, how do we cope? How do we climb out of the shadow and weight of sadness and loneliness and disconnection? I've been wrestling that question here in my office and thinking about that. As I looked at the scriptures, the book of Psalms gave me hope and perspective. See, in Psalms 146, verse 8, it says that the Lord lifts those who are bowed down. The psalm first lists a group of people who are feeling overwhelmed, who are helpless with life and circumstances. They are oppressed, hungry, sojourners, prisoners, orphans. And he says the Lord lifts those who are bowed down. These are people who are vulnerable. And he's saying the Lord is their champion. Now, that word catches my attention. It's someone who's burdened and depressed. Now, I visualize someone who's been cut off from life and purpose and meaning, and they're sitting under this weight. We're burdened right now, worried and concerned about our future, our finances, our family, our relationship. We're unsure. But this psalm is saying God lifts those who are bowed down. The God of hope comes along and lifts us up, renews us with hope, and invigorates us because He's for us. He's watching over us. That's the first thing you need to know. How exactly does God lift us up? And what about this loneliness that I'm feeling right now? Well, Psalm 68 says, God sets the lonely in families. This psalm is talking about the gift of connection we can find in a family. Now, family doesn't have to be only a biological family. It can be a spiritual family. It can be a relational family. It can be a work family. It's speaking of relationship. A family is a place where you and I can share our story and our struggle. See, families create spaces for us to move towards each other. So this is something that we can do. If we want to be inspired and nurtured and affirmed and nourished, let's move closer. Find 2 or 3 people, even in this place where we're in, being isolated. You can find a Facebook private group. You can join a Zoom call. You can call somebody. This can move you towards connection. Now, I recently read a quote by Brene Brown. She says, staying vulnerable is a risk we have to take if we want to experience connection. We can't hide when we're in a family. And so here's my challenge to you. Would you consider reaching out, joining a group, joining or calling somebody and give them permission to hear your story and your struggle? Perhaps they'll point you to someone greater. And if you need help, we would love to help. Just click on the link below and so we can get you connected and plugged in so you can navigate what we're experiencing right now. We can be your family. We want to be your family.